traveling time.
All right, what's up, party people? How's everybody doing? Let me get some music going for us. Got a really awesome journal jam sesh for us this evening. And we got some groovy tunes, some funky chill music to help you chill with all the funk that's going on in your life. If you can't tell, the world is just changing. It's crazy. Got all sorts of things in flux, whether it's political, social, economic, personal. Change is constant. Isn't that crazy? Like the only thing that's constant, I think, in life is change. Wild stuff. Anyway, I'm feeling pretty good today. I just got back from my bachelor party weekend, and that's probably why I'm thinking so much about change. It's just this is a season of change for me personally, as I'm about to get married, and it was interesting to be with all my oldest friends, and even just seeing how, like, as we've all aged, right? Like, you ever seen like a nearly 40-year-old bachelor party? It's a little different than what I imagined my bachelor party would look like when I was in my 20s. But you know, you got to find a way to enjoy it and to embrace it, and that's what this evening's topic is about: embracing change. And I think that for me personally, I always resist change a little bit, because change when it's life's already got all this stuff going on, and it feels like by the time you wrap your head around it all and you get comfortable with it, then it's changing, right? So I think to acknowledge that, to accept that, and become a little bit more consciously aware of that sort of thing, then you can be prepared for it. And it's also good to recognize when we're judging things, when we're labeling things. I think that, for me, maybe part of what I resist with change, right? It's like you see something coming down the pipeline, and immediately, like, your brain will just try to categorize it as good or bad, or like, this is something I want versus something I don't want. And I think the reality is there's so much going on that we probably most of the time don't really know better, or wouldn't be able to judge something as good or bad, because you never know what these things are going to lead to. I mean, sure enough, they may cause you pain or pleasure in the moment, but ultimately, this life that we live is well beyond the scope of a moment. And that said, each moment plays into it just perfectly, if you will allow it. And so tonight we've got an incredible program for you. Let me pull up the app here. For those of you who are new and don't know what I'm talking about, this is the Journal Party app that I'll be streaming on the live stream this evening. So you don't actually need the app for tonight's program, but if you ever want to go back and watch any of our replays, if you ever want to go through some of the programs at your own leisure, there's player controls for each of these. And so, sometimes you might want to spend a little bit more time with the prompt, or spend a little bit less time with the prompt, skip around, do your own thing. It's basically a self-coaching platform at this point. So if you haven't downloaded the app, you can scan that QR code there, or just go to the App Store, whether it's Apple App Store, Google Play, or you can even visit app.journalparty.com, and there's a web-based version if you don't like downloading apps. So that's there for you if you need it. I'm going to take that down now so everyone can see everything. And all right, let's see who we got in here. Surrey Cat's here. What's up? Katie, good to see you. Glad you're excited. All right, Katie's from North Carolina. That's right. I remember that because we had issues with shipping you your stuff. We've had issues with shipping everybody their stuff. That's one of the major changes we got going on here at Journal Party. We just had to switch our fulfillment partners. What's up, Charlinia? A lot of you guys who ordered journals might have got them a little late, and I'm deeply sorry for that, because unfortunately our partners have been just dropping the ball on us left and right. They lost a ton of my books. They're sending people the wrong stuff. It's crazy. So we had to kind of pull the plug on them. And life goes on. We found new fulfillment partners, and so we'll be resuming the store operations soon. And yeah, D, I am cheerful, and I feel so blessed. Like this last weekend was just amazing, getting to hang out with some of my best friends, and also just getting amped for what is going to probably be the happiest day of my life, right? Marrying my future wife. And so I'm really looking forward to it. And just that time away put a lot into perspective for me. And yeah, my life's pretty good, so I am pretty cheerful. Alicia, what's up? Howdy, howdy. Annie's in the house. Steryl's in the house. This is going to be a big one tonight. Trisha, what's up? Good to see you. Kathy Poo's here. Got Jen in the house. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Cool. All right. So, without further ado, let me get this ticker out of the way, and get our logo up there, right? So people know where they're at. Cool. All right. So if anyone's new and you're not sure how this works, it's pretty simple. We're going to go through 10 prompts this evening. It's going to be 3 minutes allocated per prompt. And, if you ever want to spend more time, like I said, you can kind of go back in the app and do this at your leisure. What's up, Carolyn? Good to see you. All right. And so anyway, I will read the prompt for you. And then there's a little timer, and then it will move on to the next prompt, and I'll read the prompt for you again. And then once we're all done, we can all hang out at the end, share our insights, keep in touch. We got a lot of regulars here at the moment, so I always love hearing what you guys have going on in your world, whether it's something that we're celebrating or something that you need support in. It's a really awesome community that we have here. Alicia says, is that why the end of live drawings stopped? Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, well, also, it gets expensive giving stuff away. So I didn't want to do it every week. But yeah, unfortunately, our partners lost a ton of our stuff. And like I said, we're sending the wrong people stuff. So they're sending me all of my stuff back. So don't worry, we'll still be giving stuff away in the future. But, I want to make sure that it actually gets to you if I promise it, right? What's up, Ruby from South Padre Island? All right, so it's 7 after. I think it's time to get this party started. Go ahead and open up that journal, and I will count us down. You ready to embrace change in your life? Prompt number 1. First impressions. Write about a recent change in your life. How did you feel when it first happened? Ready for your next one. Change as a teacher. Think of a past change that taught you something valuable. What did you learn? Next prompt, the unknown path. What's one unknown or uncertain change you're facing right now? How can you embrace it? Support system. Who or what helps you the most when life changes? All right. Happy Chinese New Year, as Nahal reminded us. All right. Next prompt, gratitude and transition. Name something you're grateful for that came from a recent change. Next prompt, letting go, my favorite. What's one thing you've had to let go of recently? How did it feel to release it? New beginnings. Write about a change that turned into a new opportunity for you. Unwelcome shifts. How do you cope with changes you didn't choose? Small adjustments. What's one small habit or mindset shift that's helped you navigate change? Last one, future focus. Imagine a positive change that could happen in the next year. How would you welcome it? All right. Nice job, party people. Let me get this app screen out of the way, get our ticker off of here since we're done journaling. Let me know how you did in the chat. All right. So this one was great for me. I've got a lot of really exciting changes going on, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm doing my best to embrace them. I realize, like I mentioned earlier, I do tend to have sort of a knee-jerk reaction of just resisting any sort of change, and I think that's probably a common experience, just because before things change, it's a little bit more comfortable. But I think that I've also gotten pretty good at at sort of trusting the way that things work out. And I mean, maybe that's just part of getting older and getting a little wiser. Hopefully, is that and especially as someone who documents everything, right? As I write all these things down, I see that overall the trend is seemingly positive for me. I've had a lot of a lot of ups and downs, but ultimately I feel supported by God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. The greater thing that's going on here, and I think that that was sort of like an undercurrent for me throughout this whole thing. It's just that um, you know change is going to happen no matter what. But uh, if you kind of zoom out a little bit, it seems to be something that's orchestrated and part of something that's much smarter than I am. And oftentimes I'm surprised, and maybe I shouldn't be surprised at this point, when even a change that I'll resist will end up turning out so much better than the thing that I was holding on to. And I thought that was a pretty powerful insight for me there. And maybe that's why I lean so much onto letting things go. I mean, this life, it's not permanent, and we can't take any of these things that we're holding on to with us, whether they're physical or spiritual. I think that ultimately we have to let go and realize that we're on this ride together. And even though it's a great mystery, that's probably the coolest part of it, right? Like, if you knew everything that was going to happen, you probably wouldn't have as much fun. It's like, I mean, sure, you can watch a movie that you've watched before, but unless you kind of like suspend like your knowledge of it and kind of forget momentarily, it's not fun. It's not fun to just keep repeating the same things over and over again, and not having any sense of surprise or any sense of wonder. And so yeah, that's kind of what I took from this, is just being open to things being better, and being open to the possibility that I don't know everything. My ego loves to build itself up and think it's so smart, and I'll get attached to certain outcomes and things like that, as if I do know better. And yeah, there's certain instances where I maybe skilled, and maybe I know better relative to someone or something, but overall, I mean, there's just so much that I'm still completely ignorant of. And you know um being able to acknowledge that, it's not to say that I'm trying to put myself down for not knowing everything. It's more so just being able to being willing to let go of some of that responsibility. Like, I think I've been thinking about responsibilities a lot lately, obviously with my coming marriage. And I think that on one hand, it's imperative that we take absolute responsibility for the things that we do, and the things that we have created in our lives, and I guess by virtue of that, the things that show up. But also, I think there's like a flip side of that, where you can kind of let go of some of that, at least some of like the more difficult parts of that, and realize that this whole thing is just so much bigger than we all realize. And I guess I like to think of it kind of. Has anybody here ever studied like Taoism or read into that? I don't mean that in like a religious sense, but more so in terms of like the philosophy. And the Tao, for those who aren't familiar, it's often translated as like the way or the path. And I kind of think of it. Someone once explained it to me as like, imagine you're like riding a raft on a river. You could decide that you're smarter than the river and try to paddle upstream, but you're going to have a hard time. Whereas if you kind of let go and acknowledge that these currents are changing, and that these are forces that are it's not really productive for you to fight against them, what you can then do is you can look ahead and be smart about how you navigate, and you can ride that river. And in that state of flow, things become a lot easier. It's a lot easier to avoid oncoming rocks when you acknowledge that you're at least going that direction in the first place. So yeah, just kind of thinking about things like going with the flow. That was like the big undercurrent for me. And yeah, going with the flow and letting go. So that's my share. Let me see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Okay, Annie says, I'm starting to realize that some of the changes I didn't understand at the time, there was a long con involved, and I'm starting to see some of it. Interesting. Long con. That's an interesting way to put that. I hope that's a good thing, hopefully. Um, Kathy says, the most recent change has been feeling like I'm losing my independence and me time due to injuries, aging, and over caring adult children. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I think that's an interesting one. I mean, obviously we're different walks of life and different ages, but I one of the things was writing about here is coping with aging. I mean, I mentioned earlier I was at my bachelor party, and we're all almost. I'm almost 40 at this point, right? And I've been coming to terms with my own aging, or trying to as best I can lately. Things like noticing that some of my hair is thinning out, where I've always really liked having cool hair. I was in rock bands and stuff, and so it's weird. I like we have security cameras in our house, and I caught the one looking down. I'm like, oh no, I'm getting a bald spot, and it's like, oh, you can fight that and focus on that thing that you don't want to happen, or you can acknowledge it as something that is happening and try to orient yourself within that. And at least for me, within these prompts, not so much related to the aging, but some of the other changes that were coming that I kind of resisted a little bit. I was finding some success in sort of reframing things as an opportunity to I guess to express myself a little bit better and to serve. That was another thing that was coming up for me, right? There's some client work that I do that I really enjoy. I mean, it's really cool, products that I'm helping advise on, marketing and strategy for and things like that. But as those arrangements end, it leaves space for something new, and that's a positive way to look at it. But if I'm honest, my immediate thought was oh no, I need to replace this, or I'm going to be in trouble. And I was really mourning the loss of this other thing. Whereas I realized that okay, this is now freeing up my time to be able to serve people better and to do, to actually be a little bit more intentional about how I'm showing up, right? We talk about how we show up in this world a lot. And so, I mean, again, different walks of life, Kathy Poo, but I think, well, first off, it's okay to set boundaries on things like your me time, and make sure that you're practicing self-care and stuff like that. But when it comes to your adult children and people that you're interfacing with in this life, that's an opportunity to find or at least examine how you're showing up in those relationships, making sure that the love is all there. And talked about my corner of aging a little bit. Injuries is tough. That's a tough one. I think I'm fortunate I haven't had too many injuries in my life, but recently I've been plagued by them a little bit. And yeah, I don't really know necessarily how to put a positive spin on it. And maybe that's not what it's about. Maybe it's not about putting a coat of shiny new paint over everything and trying to pretend that it's something that it's not. But maybe it's just thinking out loud here. Maybe it's more about reflecting on the nature of things. I think it's a really profound thing that nothing is permanent, and that things break down. And on one hand, it calls us to pay more attention to things like taking care of ourselves, so that we can make our bodies last longer and serve us a little bit better. But it's also I think philosophically it's just a really interesting thing that nothing is permanent. And with that, while it may be sad that things will decay and deteriorate, I think having an awareness that all things are like that can allow us to fully appreciate them, but also not hold on to them too tight, knowing that it's like sand that's going to slip through our fingers. And I think that that can be scary for a lot of people because, I think some people just view these, once the physical is gone, that, that it's gone and it's all lost. But I think that, and this is something you might want to explore doing some deeper work on, but I think that like the actual greater reality is not the it's not the physical reality, but the spiritual underlying reality beyond these things, like the void in which all of these things emerge. And so try to hold some space for that. So maybe reflect on it a little bit more. And, while I cannot, claim to fully understand your experience and, even what you're putting out here today, I think that there are some deeper truths there, that, that collective wisdom is available to all of us if we're brave enough to explore that and dig into the truth of things. And, as opposed to doing that thing, like we're just resisting and trying to call it something else, which it's not, right? Surrey Cat had to run. Good to see you, Surrey Cat. Always. Lashandra says, after reviewing what I wrote, I see acceptance is important for change with me. Yeah, for sure. So I've shared this in the past, but one of the reasons I'm so fond of letting go is some of the program work I've done through the Sedona method, which is awesome if you haven't checked that out. But yeah, through Sedona method, I'm not the guy who I guess originally started that. His name was Lester Levinson. And one of the things that he puts out is kind of like a range of emotions, positive to negative. Negative to positive, depending on how you want to look at it, right? Not necessarily linear, but in any case, what is it? Apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride, and even pride, right? Like it's, that's like on the higher end of like the lower spectrum, but like all of those things are traps that keep us like not free. Like these things are getting in the way of the greater truth. And then on the other side of that is courageousness, acceptance. And then on the other side of that is peace. Like you can't actually have peace until you accept what is and the truth of what is. And it takes a lot of courage to even do that in the first place. And so that's why I'm always trying to say, be brave in these entries. Like the more courage you can muster up. It's hard for me to write down what I know is the truth, but like deep down, what it is. And, the more that we can kind of get this surface stuff out of the way and allow ourselves to allow these uncomfortable things, or even the things that feel good, even allowing those to come up and pass through. It allows us to see things for what they are and ultimately accept them. And once we accept them, we can have some peace. And then, ultimately under all of that is freedom. And, you don't get that freedom, true freedom, without that courageousness and that acceptance. So pretty cool insight, Lashandra. I hope you keep writing and digging in. Kathy says, past changes have usually happened after a traumatic event, and what that has taught me is that I'm stronger and smarter than I give myself credit because I've made it through all of it. Yeah, and congrats on that. I mean, we're all going to have these trials that show up in our lives. And, some people think that happens consciously before we even are born and things like that. I don't know how that all works, but I think it's a given that we're all going to experience things that challenge us in our lives. And, it's an opportunity to kind of see what you're made of. And that's one of the best parts about journaling is that, not only is it there for you to kind of work on these things and process these things, but it then serves as a testimony or testament to your perseverance. And we as human beings can be incredibly resilient. And I think this is the sort of practice that helps us to really draw that out of ourselves. Jen said, my kids are growing up. One now lives with her man, one is a college gal, and one has 2 years left in high school. And I lost my mom back in June. Really sorry to hear that. And I'm hoping that writing it out will help me learn how to cope better. I can write fiction all day long, but my feelings are a new battle new battlefield for me. Yeah. So, well, welcome to reflective writing. I lost my father, gosh, it's like 10 years ago now, and it feels like yesterday. Like it still will wake me up in the middle of the night when I think of, something like the way he looked, moments before passing, or just like something will just hit me like lightning. But that said, like I would say that if I don't know how I would have made it without reflective writing and journaling, because for me at least, I don't always like to burden others with the things that I'm going through, and it's hard to even to share those things with friends sometimes. I mean, I've gotten better about being vulnerable with my friends and stuff like that, but things like therapy really helped me with that. It was not, like once I lost the guilt of like unburdening myself because I was paying the guy, that was really helpful. But therapy is also super expensive. I still think it's great, but having this notebook at the ready, whenever I need to just get some of the stuff out of my head and kind of pick it apart and play with it, like it becomes something other than the thing that's tormenting you in that moment. And it puts some space between you and your thoughts. I think, a lot of people believe all of their thoughts. I did that for the longest time, and I still struggle with that sometimes because, I identify as like a smart guy who's like an intellectual. And so you start to think about, I don't know, you start to think about all sorts of things. I think that ultimately, though, your thoughts are different, and they're just, little things that are percolating up, from the greater experience. They may be helpful. It may be useful to examine them. But when you start to like overly identify with them, it creates all these really uncomfortable feelings that are just like so far removed from the greater truth and glory of who you really are. And so, yeah, the reason I do this, the reason I bring Journal Party to the masses is because I want to share that with people, because I know that it's probably saved my life. And so, I think that, doing this work together is even cooler, because I think that while journaling is, traditionally a solitary activity, and it's always good to, if you want to improve things, if you want to improve the world, I think it's always good to start with yourself. But to be able to tap into those sorts of things and then share it with the collective, I think that together we can rise a little bit faster. And so that's my hope for all of us. Kathy says, Alex, I know you just had your bachelor party. When is your wedding date? It is on March 29th. So coming up, I think there's like less than 60 days or something like that. So yeah, pretty cool. We're heading down to, we're getting married in La Jolla, California. We're heading down there this weekend. Should be good. We're gonna, we got a lot of things to do. I got to taste things and, pick flowers out and stuff like that. It's gonna be awesome. Nahal says, I am starting to trust this quote. What if it all works out better than you imagined? Entertain that thought. Love that. Yeah, I wrote something very similar to that, and I shouldn't be surprised anymore at how frequently what actually happens is so much better than the thing that I was complaining was not happening in the moment, if that makes sense. And you got another one here. What's coming is better than what's gone. Yeah. Well, and you got to make space for what's coming. I've heard that in like the law of attraction camps and stuff like that, but literally, like you can't, if you don't have space for something, like it's not going to show up in your experience. And if it does, it's going to be a pain in the butt because you're going to have to get rid of something. So, more is lost by indecision than wrong decision. Yes, there's a Chinese proverb that I learned once when I was studying Mandarin. I think it's "Bu Pa Man Zhi Pa Zhan." That's how you say it. I probably butchered the pronunciation there, but the translation is essentially: don't be afraid of going slowly, but be afraid of standing still. Like get it's. and that's not to say you can't pause and reflect and things like that, but the idea is that like yeah, not not making that decision is more detrimental than making that wrong decision. I literally had this conversation with my best friend this morning, because he's always calling me, and he's been at this like crossroads for seemingly forever. I mean, it feels like every time we talk, he's talking about it, and he's a very creative guy, and he's super talented, and he was he's kind of toying with the idea of doing some traveling, like going somewhere like Thailand or Bali, and he's like a video editor, and he wants to make these like YouTube videos and stuff like that, and he's so talented. Like everything he does is hilarious and super entertaining. So I'm like, why don't you just do it, man? Just do it. You got the money, you got the time, like everything. And his thing, he's like, yeah, but then I can't make this short film. And I'm like, you mean that short film that you've been talking about making forever? Like, well, just pick one. You can always turn around if you need to. If you realize that you're in the wrong place, you can always leave that place. But, sitting there forever looking at this fork in the road is not serving anybody, right? You're not letting people take advantage of like all these really awesome things you have to give to the world if you're just sitting there trying to figure out what you should do in the first place. So yeah, it's interesting how all these things, like, they show up in different ways through different people. Kathy Poo said, the positive side of my injuries and aging is my kids have shown me how awesome I've been raising them. That's awesome. They get to treat me how I've treated them when they needed me. I hope my mom feels that way. That's really great. Nahal said, in this one, we repeat what we don't repair. I'll write that down. All right. Sorry, folks. Just wanted to write that one down because I knew I'm going to need to chew on that one for a minute. Kathy said, Nahal, I'm enjoying all the quotes you have posted. Thank you. Yeah, cool stuff. I love that, just by virtue of us being like the type of people, and like, we toot our own horns here, but the type of people that are willing to sit down and spend some time, like even when it's not super comfortable, and working on yourselves. I know you guys have all this amazing wisdom that's come from your life experience, and to be able to share that with other people who can then proliferate that, and like, I really think this is something awesome we've got here. I'm so grateful for all of you. Kathy said, today's my 16-year anniversary of being cancer-free. Yes. Do I have I don't have a sound effect here. I was hoping I could be click like a round of applause thing. That is amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. May you have many more cancer-free years. That is incredible. And we're all celebrating with you for sure. And Nahal said, my pleasure. I teach writing, so quotes are part of my daily life. Awesome. Oh, it's your birthday. You mean when I'm getting what? Married? Awesome. The day before Kathy's. Wow. Cool. All right. Well, pour one out for me, for us, for girl Alex and I. And Cece says, congratulations. Yeah, thanks so much. It took some time getting away this weekend. I had so much going on. I still do, but having some space away from it really allowed me to acknowledge the things that are actually valuable and important in my life. And like I said, I'm super blessed. I've got such good positive changes happening in my life, and I'm really grateful for that. I know it's not lost on me that that's not everyone's current experience, and that said, I know that there will be times when I'm down. There's this concept of like the wheel of fortune, right? If you imagine you're on the end of like the spoke of a wagon wheel, right? Sometimes that wagon is going to park and your spoke is going to be in the mud or in the expletive. And you don't know how long it's going to stay there, but eventually, the wheel keeps turning. And when it does, you might find yourself on high, but then, it comes back down again. And that's just the nature of things, I think. And so, while I'm celebrating now, it's not lost on me that, there could be difficulties in the future, and that too shall pass. This whole thing, it's this amazing thing that we're a part of. And, I think it takes a little bit of reflection. I think it takes a little bit of awareness, and, just conscious awareness, like zooming out and acknowledging like the greater truth of all it is. And when you really examine that, it really is something special that we're all a part of. And what a cool life experience that, there's this technology that's developed that makes it super easy for me to, like, put on funky tunes and share all these journal prompts with like the timers, and then we can chat and hang out and with people that, 100 years ago, like, we would not be hanging out with different people in different parts of the country, let alone different parts of the world and stuff like that. It's the coolest thing if you let it. And I know there's lots of things like, be careful, because there's lots of stuff out there that if we spend too much time putting our attention on it, your mind can start to trick you into thinking that it's all that way. And, that's not to say we shouldn't strive for positive change. Like, if you see something out there in the world, it's possible that you can change it, that you can make it better. And so I don't want to, to say like we ignore that stuff, but, kind of like what we were saying before, like there's an acknowledgement and acceptance. And from there, you can decide to maybe be courageous and confront some of these things. And with that, if there's anything we can ever support you in on your own personal mission in this life, like whatever it is that you're seeking, I hope you find it. But also, that said, it's sometimes good to just take a breath and realize that maybe, you're not living this life so much as it's living you, and to bear witness to that is something special. So I'll leave you all with that. I see that you got some lay people coming to the party. We got some more stuff being shared. You guys are funny. All right, folks. Well, we're a little over an hour at this point, and so I got to get back to the things that are truly the most valuable in my life at this juncture, which are my fiance and my office manager, Bowie, my Frenchie. I know he's probably already been fed by my fiance, because she's good about picking up the slack there. But I'm gonna hang out with them and try to spread some of the love, some of the joy that you guys have helped me bring up here. So everyone, appreciate y'all from the bottom of my heart. See you next week, and don't forget to check out the Journal Party podcast. Just keep in mind, like I said, we've got some issues going on with our fulfillment partners, so I would hang off on ordering anything from the store, at least for the next week. But you'll see all that. There's going to be changes on the website and stuff. But we got some really exciting stuff planned, including some premium member stuff, some Zoom sessions I want to start doing with all of us. I think we can do a Monday session and probably a Friday session where, we can be accountability buddies, if you will. So that's what I got in the works. I got a plan, how we're going to do that in terms of Zoom, the scheduling and all that. But, I'm back, baby. We don't stop. So we're going to keep the party rocking. But, for now, I got to take a rest, take a breather from this one. So I hope you have a